For more than 50 years, the TV talent show has provided moments of drama, controversy,
Sharon has decided to leave the panel.
and pure elation.
Alexandra!
Tonight on the talent show Story, it's the turn of the child stars to shine.
Lena Zavaroni, one of the greatest talents we had in this country.
She was just an ordinary wee lassie. That's what she was.
We look back at the nail-biting New Faces final that saw the emergence of a squeaky clean comedy star.
Me and Jimmy Tammy, the ventriloquist, were level pegging, and whoever got 12 votes on the next one was going to win it.
And it's time to face the music as we tell the story of how the X Factor took over Saturday nights.
When that screen opens on a Saturday night, my heart is pumping out of my chest. It is so nerve-wracking.
Your Saturday night starts right here!
Wembley Arena 2011. The X Factor has taken the talent show to new heights.
We are in front of 10,000 very excited people.
13 million viewers tune in to watch a spectacular show packed with drama,
Little Mix,
special effects, and some of the biggest names in the music industry. More than any other series, The X Factor demonstrates just how huge talent shows have become in the 21st century.
This is a talent show on another level.
It's a juggernaut. It's a massive juggernaut. And it's a worldwide juggernaut.
There's nothing more exciting than working on a show that the whole country wants to talk about.
Each week's a drama and it's a soap opera, and that's ultimately why it's still on air.
During the second series of Pop Idol, Simon Cowell decided to leave his role as judge and create his own talent format.
I think Simon Cowell had been planning X Factor during the second series of Pop Idol. I think he wanted more control. Even though he'd been so instrumental through the whole process, it wasn't his show.
I've got a headache, I'm tired, and I'm getting emotional.
Once I got the idea in my head to make X Factor, and it was a fairly logical thing to do, which was to expand the age range, let the judges actually do something, rather than just commentate. The first job was I had to get ITV to take it instead of Pop Idol.
You can't be a fool, son. What about the long run?
But it's not what we're looking for.
So I had to go in and say, look, this is the show I want to make, with or without you.
I think Simon has such an enormous presence on screen. So the big decision really was whether we wanted X Factor on another channel, and the answer was a resounding no.
50,000 people with one dream.
To be singing, to be on TV and singing, that's all I want to do.
To the now familiar strains of Carmina Burana and a very deep-voiced narrator, the X Factor exploded onto our screens in September 2004.
Welcome to the X Factor.
Unlike Pop Idol, it opened up the competition to older performers and groups, and crucially, it would pit the three judges against each other as rivals.
The idea of the judge rivalry was something that was very, very key to this show. Unlike Pop Idol, the judges weren't just going to judge, they were eventually going to mentor these acts, and they were going to go against each other.
All Simon needed now was some sparring partners beside him on the judging panel.
I approached Pete Waterman first, and he basically said no.
Yes or no?
No. It wasn't for what I wanted to do with my life at that point, and I still wouldn't want to do it. I needed a break. I decided that it wasn't for me anymore.
And I always, in my mind, thought if he says no, I'd love to work with Louis, because I'd worked with Louis for years. And Louis, great manager, and I thought this would be fun. And of course he said yes. It took about a millionth of a second.
The best thing was I met Simon Cowell and he put me on the X Factor. It's been the best journey of my life. It's the best job in the world most of the time.
With Simon and Louis in place, the producers pursued a woman who they thought would spice things up.
We wanted Mel B. It was taking time to get the deal right, and in the end, we were in Simon's house in Los Angeles, and somebody said, what about Sharon Osbourne?
The Osbournes at that point were huge. I said, I don't think you'll get her.
We just picked up the phone, asked her if she was interested in doing it, and without even knowing what the deal was, she said, I'll do it. You know, thank God for Sharon. I mean, she brought so much to the show.
You look like two strippers have just come in here and started to sing.
I didn't really know Sharon very well, but she was fiery and she was feisty, and she didn't care what Simon thought.
Do you think he needs a reality check?
I think you do, actually.
I bloody think you do, and I think I'm going to give it to you right now.
The X Factor has taken the drama and emotion of the auditioning process to new extremes.
Louis Waltz, you're down Westlife, they're okay, but you're an
And of course, it's also discovered some fantastic talent.
Thank you.
Wow, our first audition was insane. I mean, people always say, oh, you must be really nervous singing in front of thousands of people, and it's like, no. The most nervous I've ever been. Simon, Cheryl, Danny and Louis.
The very first time that I saw your brown eyes, your lips said hello, and I said hi, 'cause I knew right then you were the one.
I remember the day JLS walked on, and they were just full of it. They were full of enthusiasm and personality, and they looked good, and they sang brilliantly.
Satisfaction, baby, you are more than... One of the best feelings of our lives, you know, was getting those initial 4 yeses. You know, we went through the double doors and Dermot was waiting there to interview us, and we just totally, he wasn't even there, didn't even exist. We just shot past Dermot, just run to our friends and family like bouncing kangaroos. It was wicked.
In 2008, Alexandra Burke faced the X Factor judges for the second time. She'd first passed her audition 3 years earlier, but failed to make it through to the live shows.
I walk into that room and I'm so nervous. I've never felt so nervous at this point because I'm scared of rejection. And Simon goes, I remember you.
We know you, right?
You know me.
I do.
3 years ago.
She was nearly through. I didn't pick her.
I sang Saving All My Love for You, Whitney Houston. But no other man's gonna do. So I'm saving all my love for you.
Thank you.
I kind of just stopped and froze. At this point, I lift my head up and I've just burst into tears because I can't believe my luck. And then Cheryl starts crying. This means so much to me, you don't understand. In 2004, I lost my grandfather. And all I could think about was him being there, his presence there.
I was just blown away. I think you're amazing. I've got goosebumps.
Still to this day, nothing can top that moment. Just getting past that door, the first audition, that for me was when the road started.
By 2009, the X Factor had become one of the biggest shows on television, but it was about to get even bigger.
I think maybe what I've brought to talent shows is probably scale. If you look back on New Faces and Opportunity Knocks, I mean, it all feels a bit small, and you have the city clapometer and whatever. We brought money into these shows and wanted it to look bigger than anything else. I wanted it to get better every year.
This year, all around Britain, the auditionees now have to perform in front of not only the 4 judges, but an audience of thousands.
Moving the auditions into a big theatre, gaining a 5th judge as the audience are, you knew if someone had it on stage, because a lot of people can sing, but can they perform?
It's a weird feeling when you first walk out on the X Factor, I've got to say. You've got the nerves, of course, because you know you've got to perform, the excitement because you're on one of the biggest TV shows in the country, and you know, you're like, oh, God. And then, you know, you've still got the 4 judges in front of you. I didn't think too much about everything that was going on around me. I just did my job, and I did try and forget that the show was so big.
Very superstitious. The writings on the wall.
It's a fantastic feeling. It's one of the best feelings I'll take away from it.
For those who made it through the early stages, the X Factor soon offered a taste of the jet-set lifestyle as they performed to their celebrity judges in glamorous locations across the world.
When we thought about wanting to do judges' houses, we wanted it to be a bit like Lives of the Rich and Famous. For the contestants, you go, oh, hang on a minute, if I do really well, I could have a little piece of this.
Now there's just no chance for you and me, there'll never be.
You know, you've got one chance outside a nice swimming pool in a generic European or American location, which is one of our judges' houses. They own many houses around the world.
I don't know what is after.
Louis, for example, we went to Barcelona. I can't believe he's kept that for himself for so long. In my 5, 6, 7 years of friendship with Louis, he's never mentioned it once.
We had gone from this very student lifestyle with not much responsibility to rolling up at Simon's mansion in Marbella.
Nothing's fine, I'm torn.
Singing for our chance to go on the live show. So for us, it was a complete turnaround, really. It was really weird.
Judges' houses it's so beautiful because you're in your own space and it's intimate and the performers are really bearing their soul and do incredible intimate performances.
See your true colours shining through.
It was to be a particularly nerve-wracking experience for Alexandra Burke as she went through the same ordeal for the second time in 3 years.
It was my turn to sing, and I didn't even want to look at Cheryl, and I just thought, I can't stare you in the face. I closed my eyes throughout the whole of the song.
You don't know what I'm feeling. I'm more than what you're made of me.
And then we had to wait 24 hours to find out who got through.
And I really didn't want to be the person to do this to you again. But I've had to make the decision.
Oh my God. When she says that, I was just like, you don't need to say anymore. You've just said again, you know? I know what you're about to say.
You're in me finals.
I look back at it now, I'm like, I'm nearly breaking her neck. It's ridiculous. I was really grateful for the second chance.
But as well as the joy of putting people through, for the judges, there's also the pain in sending some home.
You bring them so far, you give them a taste of what it's like to be a pop star, and you have to send 3 of them home. You're going home. I'm really sorry. I'm really, really sorry. You've been fantastic to work with.
Until then, you have a desk and a stage between you and the acts, but on the judges' houses, it's the first time you really get to look in the whites of their eyes. And especially when you've got to tell half of your category that they're not going to make it, it was a full-on couple of days, that was.
Joe, I'm sorry, mate. You're not going to make my final 4.
How am I going to say to people, I'm sorry, but I'm about to crush your dreams? And it was just really hard. Guys, I'm so sorry, but I can't take you through to the live finals.
I'm sure they think he's a bastard. You know, but they can't say it, and it's awful. It is awful.
For the contestants that do get through, it's time to face the music in the X Factor live shows.
The 30 seconds before you go on air are the most electric 30 seconds you can ever experience. You can't hear anything in your ear. The director's trying to cue you. You can't really hear it. And you just hear a muffled kind of countdown. The music starts and Peter Dixon's voice kicks in.
Get ready, Britain! Live from London!
And you're there going, I'm the host of the biggest show on television, and there is just no better feeling.
The X Factor judges.
When that screen opens on a Saturday night, my heart is pumping out of my chest. It is so nerve-wracking.
The X Factor final has become the perfect example of 21st century event TV, and one where 3 lucky acts get the chance to perform with some of the most famous names in the music business.
Please welcome my hero, Beyonce.
The fact that on the final,
you could be up there singing with one of your all-time musical heroes. It's so exciting.
It's great to see someone that's done so well, and now there they are singing with someone who's world famous.
And on a live show, anything can happen. Just ask Robbie Williams.
Robbie came to the show, and of course I got to perform with him, which was brilliant. What we done completely wrong that day is we changed the intro of me introducing Robbie, which was probably the worst thing to do.
Right, I can't believe I'm saying this, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone wants to be his mate. It's Robbie Williams!
And he then started to sing. But it was like, no, Robbie. No, not this. No. And then I sung it with him to make sure he knew what parts had come in. But we laughed about it afterwards, had a right laugh about it. That was one of the best moments of my life, to be fair. And yeah, it was a real moment for me. It was, you know, and the fact that we're still friends now is great.
I'm loving angels instead. Come on, Ollie! Come on, Ollie!
It doesn't get any bigger than this.
After thousands of auditions, floods of tears and more than a handful of tantrums, the X Factor boils down to just one moment.
We are about to discover who has won the X Factor 2009.
I think when it all comes down to a name being announced is quite incredible. I mean, it really is a nail-biter.
From the thousands that applied, it's all come down to this.
Dermot says, and the winner of the X Factor is...
The winner of the X Factor 2011 is...
And there's a pause.
You're shaking, you're sweating, and it's a noisy studio, but suddenly everything goes quiet.
Come on, tell me.
Don't let yourself be governed by fear, ever, because you'll get it wrong.
But for Dermot to just say that name, it's just mind-blowing.
Leon!
I think X Factor gives these people a chance that they would never have gotten before.
Everybody still likes the moment, like I do, of discovering a star for the first time.
Shane, congratulations! Steve!
I've loved every single minute of doing it.
Joe! Alexandra!
I didn't even think I'd get past week one, let alone win the bloody thing.
You wouldn't change any bit for the world now.
Exactly. Little Mix!
There's only going to be one godfather of talent shows, and that is the X Factor.
Can it get any bigger? Yeah, it can.
Next, we tell the tragic story of one of Britain's finest ever young talents.
She had something unique. She didn't realise how good she was at the time.
If I could use hindsight, and I thought that Lena was going to become anorexia, no way I would think of putting her into show business.
Hello. I would like to sing you a song.
Over the decades, the talent show has launched the careers of many a young wannabe.
Lena Zavarona.
When you look back at the history of the talent shows that have been on in this country, children have always played an integral part.
I mean, I'd actually steal you two and adopt you. I think you're so cute.
The whole appeal of child stars, it's the granny factor. Oh, isn't she cute? You know, and they're so nice. And they win you over immediately.
The 1970s was the golden era of the child star, and Opportunity Knocks was at the forefront of finding that raw talent.
Ladies and gentlemen, for Master Neil Reid singing his Decca record once again, Opportunity Knocks.
One of the first youngsters to be catapulted into the limelight was wee Neil Reid. It's a lovely suit.
Mother of mine, you gave to me.
I remember watching Neil Reid. He was so sweet because he would stand there and sing Mother of Mine,
And Neil was just adorable. People would cry when they watched him.
I remember the experience of just kind of being in the studio and, you know, seeing the sort of red lights of the cameras round about you. Couldn't really see too much of the audience, but just this sense of magic in the air kind of thing. That's what it felt like.
What you gave to me.
Neil won Op Knox 6 times in a row and became a household name.
It was a move from the playground right into the spotlight overnight. The fact that I was winning was kind of like almost irrelevant, you know. It was just, I just was loving the experience. It was just great fun.
Neil sold 4 million copies of Mother of Mine worldwide and was soon the youngest singer to top the album chart.
When you're 12 and you're doing all of that stuff, to be honest, I think it's easier than it is when you're 18, because you don't realise that this could be make or break for you. You know, that pressure isn't there.
But wee Neil couldn't stay wee forever. Nature dealt his career a cruel blow.
I had about 2 years and then my voice broke, and then after that I just couldn't sing. You know, you wouldn't have wanted to come anywhere near me to hear me sing at that point.
Neil Reid wasn't the only child star to find the leap into adulthood challenging.
Hello, everybody!
Hello, Bonnie. Yes, Bonnie Langford was one of Opportunity Knock's youngest discoverers.
Opportunity Knocks for me happened when I was 6 years old, very little. I had no idea I was in front of 15 million people. And I probably wouldn't even know what 15 million people look like. Who would? No nerves, no worry. I just enjoyed it, and that's how it should be when you're young.
But despite her career flourishing in the years to follow, Bonnie found it hard to shake off her cutesy image.
I'm a good chip, lollipop, it's a sweet trip to the candy shop.
She was just the stereotypical brat. And yet, that was brilliant acting.
People think that that's me, when in fact it's not. And sometimes, particularly when I was going through some kind of adolescence, there were times when I wanted to say, will you stop harping back to the past? Will you stop going on about me? I'm not that anymore.
If you won't, I'll scream and scream and scream. You what? I'll make myself sick, and I can.
Everyone that's been a child star will tell you that, you know, it's difficult because people don't want to accept you as something new.
But for most of us, Lena Zavaroni was the child star who had come to represent the perils of finding fame so young.
If they could see me now, that little gang.
Lena Zavaroni, one of the greatest talents I think we had in this country. You know, a Judy Garland of her day.
Lena Zavaroni was a lovely, innocent girl with the most amazing vocal talent. She had almost an adult's voice in the body of a child.
She had something unique. She was a typical wee lassie who made it really big. She didn't realise how good she was at the time.
Lena came from the Scottish island of Bute, where her parents ran a fish and chip shop.
From the very beginning, Lena was talented, and it was a natural talent. And she was singing, oh God, I think that she was singing before she could walk, actually.
In 1974, a moment came along that was to change Lena's life forever when she made her first appearance on Opportunity Knocks.
She won it, I think, for 4 or 5 weeks. She was enjoying every minute of it. The funny thing is, she's making eyes at me. She absolutely hated that song. She did not like it.
But the public loved it. The song was a top 10 hit, and Lena moved to London to live with her agent. Lena's star was soaring. She appeared in Las Vegas alongside Frank Sinatra. And in 1976, she performed for the Queen Mother. years later, 14-year-old Lena teamed up with Bonnie Langford to star in their own show.
We became great friends. We used to go shopping together in Brent Cross, and then we did television shows together, and it was as simple as that. Things were different for Lena because she was away from home and I wasn't. And in a way that brought us together because we had this normality in our work, difference in our home lives, but balanced each other out.
I'll never forget, there was a song, the old Hollies hit, The Air That I Breathe, that would almost bring me to tears now watching it. It was just superb.
Sad and Jill, go to sleep. Sometimes all I need is the air that I breathe and to love you.
I shall always remember Lena because she would win any talent show now. This was absolutely a supreme voice.
But despite her huge success, Lena found her teenage years difficult to cope with.
Now, what's all this diet bit?
I came up to London, and of course I went on TV and I looked too fat. So I just had to go on a diet. I mean, I was all fat and they could get nothing to fit me to go on stage.
Lena was eventually diagnosed with anorexia nervosa.
A lot of young people find it very difficult to grow up in any world, and we will all adopt different phobias or challenges in our lives. And for Lena, she decided that her strength and her control in her life was to not eat.
In 1982, Lena's illness hit the headlines. Her health was deteriorating and her career had ground to a halt. But what was at the root of her anorexia? Was the pressure of being a star just too much for a child to bear?
If I could use my hindsight and I thought that Lena was going to become anorexic, I would have never thought for a minute, oh, no way I would think of putting her into show business.
To hold the world together, make it happen.
Lena Zavaroni never managed to overcome her anorexia or depression. In 1999, the nation's favourite child star died of pneumonia, aged just 35.
The thing that saddens me about that is that people remember Lena Zavaroni more for her problem with anorexia than for her absolute talent, which was this brilliant, brilliant ability to sing and this wonderful voice. And it's a shame we can't hear it now.
She enjoyed making people happy. And I think that was one of her main points, you know, in her life, to make people happy and see them laughing and clapping and enjoying her performances. She was just an ordinary wee lassie. That's what she was.
Next, we show how Britain's Got Talent brought child stars back to the talent show roller coaster.
I didn't like it. I loved it.
But it hasn't always been an easy ride.
That was one of those awful moments. The producers are screaming in Anton Deck's ears, she can't sing again.
In the 60s and 70s, TV talent shows unearthed some of the nation's finest young talent. And as we moved into the 90s, a new crop of talent shows continued the search for the stars of the future. In 1997, the Big Talent Show discovered a singing sensation. And this star was only supposed to be introducing our aunt.
To tell us more about Caroline, we have her niece, Charlotte Church. Charlotte?
I was in the rehearsals for the Big Talent Show when Charlotte Church sang in the dress run, And we all went, this girl has got to sing on the show. I mean, this is an incredible voice.
So Caroline's your auntie. Yeah. She sings, I know, beautifully.
So I said to Jonathan, just make sure, although she's introducing her auntie, and her auntie's the talent for the night, make sure you get this little girl to sing.
Wow, what about that?
She became obviously a big star with a fantastic talent.
In 1999, Star for a Night hit our screens.
The biggest surprise for me was finding Joss Stone all those years ago.
The winner on Junior Star for a Night is Joss Stone.
She just looked down that camera lens and sold a Donna Summer classic in a fantastic sparkly jeans, because that's all she was worried about, was keeping the jeans. That's all she wanted to do, was keep the jeans.
Also waiting in the wings that night was a future X Factor winner.
Well, she's our youngest singer tonight. From North London, here's Alexandra Berg.
I remember going in and surprising her in her school.
My whole school knew about it and kept it away from me, which was, I can't believe how they kept that secret away from me. And I remember when she walks into my music class, surprises me in front of all my friends.
Oh my God! And she just screamed the place down and ran around the classroom like a whirling dervish.
I'm telling you right now, I was the most popular girl in school and I loved it. I loved the attention.
Although she didn't win, Star for a Night did offer Alexandra her very first glimpse of stardom.
She was owning that stage, even at that high.
Thank God I wasn't that girl who, because I didn't win, got really depressed, got so sad and didn't want to sing anymore. But some kids could be like that. It's down to the parents to keep the kids strong and show them that when one door closes, another door will open.
The new millennium brought a new wave of talent shows, inviting record numbers of auditionees the chance to realise their dreams. Well, everyone except the kids. Age limits had been set and child stars were no longer in demand.
The X Factor for me was a very grown-up playground. It isn't just about being on television, it's about selling albums, and it's about selling out tours, and it's about going on the road, and it's life-changing.
Your winner, Shane Ward!
That's a very adult experience.
But in 2007, the makers of Britain's Got Talent decided the time was right to bring back the cute factor.
I think there's always been this sense that you can't expose children to the potential trauma of appearing on stage on a talent show in a TV competition. I've always thought that's nonsense.
If your child wants to do something and they're confident and you think they can handle it as a parent, let them do it.
The first child star to emerge from the new talent show era was little Connie Talbot.
I saw it on an advert after X Factor and it said any age, so I thought I'd like to go on that.
What do you do, Connie? You're a singer? Yeah?
I came home from work and then the form was there and a picture and I was like, what's happening, what's going on? And she's like, she's entering Britain's Got Talent, and I was like, oh, I don't know whether that's a good idea.
She came out with a lisp and said she was going to sing, and I'm thinking, oh God, I hope this goes well, because this is going to be awful for her.
With Simon's reputation going before him, it's little wonder that Connie's parents were worried.
My dad didn't want me to audition because he was really nervous for me.
And I know what Simon Cowell could be like. You know, you never know, he might upset my child.
There's only one person who you need to really impress, and that's the nasty Simon. What do you think? Do you think he like you or not?
I call him the child catcher, and everyone thinks he hates kids. He doesn't. He's brilliant with them.
Connie. I didn't like it.
I was nervous when he said he didn't like it.
I thought, oh, please don't say anything nasty to her.
I loved it.
I was like, oh, thank God for that.
I just adore you.
She was absolutely note perfect. And that's why I like having kids on the show.
I think Siren's a softie inside.
Paul Potts!
She didn't win the show, but she's hugely successful and still a lovely girl with teeth now, I hear.
But it hasn't always been a smooth ride for Britain's Got Talent's child stars. In 2009, 10-year-old Holly Steele showed that talent shows can still be a daunting place for performers of any age.
Holly Steele had a beautiful voice. She was a sweet, sweet girl. And she warranted her place in the Britain's Got Talent finals. If you forget your words live on national television, you forget your words.
Okay, that's all right, Pat.
That was one of those awful moments where I know the producers are screaming in Anton Deck's ears, she can't sing it again, she can't sing it again. I knew that if we had to sing again, we were going to be late going into the news, which you're not allowed to do. So I waited till the last second. I went, yeah, she could sing again. And once I'd said it on live TV, they had no choice.
Holly, I don't care how we find it, but we will find the time somewhere, OK? Right?
You know, the reality is children cry all the time. Crying is part of life. Adults cry too, particularly in talent shows. So, you know, I don't see that as a reason not to put children on television.
Still to come, Joe Pasquale confesses all, as we find out how he really made it through to the New Faces final.
I bought up a job lot of postcards, about 5,000 postcards. All they had to do was buy a stamp and stick it on, right? And I voted for me on it. I said, right, just send that in, will you?
You voted for Joe Pasquale!
Over the years, talent show producers have constantly had to find imaginative new ways of rating the acts.
This is the way the London panel saw things today.
Whether it's audience clapometers or electronic buzzers, the studio audience, judges and viewers at home have all been given the chance to have their say.
Would you vote now, please?
It was back in the 80s when the talent show first went high-tech.
Dennis Walker into an early lead.
Technology has changed talent shows in numerous ways. In the way of voting, very, very much so.
The Fame game gave 1,000 viewers the chance to vote using a newfangled device called a computer, and they are really clever.
They all have a gadget like this one here. I shall ask them to vote by pressing the number of the act they like best. Voting viewers, vote now. And 747 overwhelming winners this week.
Meanwhile, another piece of technology allowed the audience to give unwanted acts the elbow.
When our voting viewers have seen enough, they simply press button 1, and this makes the electronic hook go out like you see on your screen, and drags off that comedian.
The public love that kind of instant decision-making.
Is that the hook coming out? It'll make a mess of my hair. I stopped you.
We'd be howling as kids, my brother and I, at home at these comedians who had been dragged on and off the stage.
Goodbye.
In fact, the Shepherd's Crook harked back to an earlier talent show tradition.
In the old days of Variety, there was a hook on the side of stage, and the audience would respond to the act, and if they didn't like it, a shepherd's crook hook would come on stage and pull them off the stage.
Sadly, the Fame game itself got the Shepherd's Hook treatment in 1985 and was replaced the following year by a revamped New Faces and yet more fancy gadgetry.
Spaghetti Junction.
There was a contraption on stage called Spaghetti Junction. Marty would say, press your buzzers now, and on each of the seats there was a buzzer.
As you can see, the names of the 6 acts that have been on the show this evening are in the stars down by the side of the board. Each name is linked via its own colour light bulb trail to the superstar at the top of the board. Now, one act, and one act alone, can light that star tonight. Press your buttons now for Martin Berger on the green. We're on the board. Press for Martin Berger, and he's going up. And he's
You can imagine wiring up a 3,000-seater theatre with buttons and all those computer links.
The winner!
You would never build anything like that now. It was a great piece of machinery. We loved it.
Just like the X Factor, the New Faces final was a huge TV event, and the first with a live phone vote.
You, the people at home, have the casting decision. Who's it going to be?
We used to watch the New Faces every week and loved that. Early on, I had a favourite, a little bloke. He did a Superman routine at the end. He like knelt and he put his arm... I can't remember how he did it.
That little bloke, Gary, was Dougie Small, winner of New Faces '86.
The winner is Dougie Small, ladies and gentlemen. He'll make amazing Dougie Small!
But it was the following year that produced one of the show's most famous discoveries in one of the most nail-biting finals in talent show history.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Joe Pasquale.
He was just such a naturally funny guy.
I put that on because the producer said I wasn't going to let any cowboys on the show.
There wasn't so much an act, but just a comedy genius for almost making it up as he went along and hoping for the best.
Before I went to do New Faces, I was a bingo caller and refereed wrestling at a holiday camp, so I had nothing to lose. I used to be a long-distance lorry driver on the Isle of Wight.
The turning point for Joe came during rehearsals for the first round, when he had been paid an unexpected visit by one of the judges.
It's Ken Dodd.
Ken Dodd came in, and I was like, oh my God, it's Ken Dodd. And he went, can I give you a bit of advice, son? So I said, yeah, absolutely, of course you can. And he went, see that joke there at the beginning? He said, don't do that one there, that's a stronger gag, you need to finish with that one. When you pull the rabbit out of the hat, don't throw it off in the wind. Put it down your trousers, shake your leg and it'll come out the bottom. You'll get double the laugh on that, right, okay? And he went, if you do what I tell you now, I'll guarantee you win tonight. So I went back to the dressing room, changed it all around, did what he said, and obviously I won that heat.
And the winner in the audience, Joe Pasquale!
Joe had won over the audience and the judges.
A great new star comedian clown.
But to get through to the final, he needed to win the postcard vote. And after 25 years, Joe has a little confession to make.
So what I'd done on that, I was still working at the holiday camp. And every week we'd have about 400 people come through on holiday. And I brought up a job lot of postcards, about 5,000 postcards. I dished them all out and I actually filled it all in. All they had to do was buy a stamp and stick it on, right? And I voted for me on it. I said, right, just send that in, will you? Send that in, send that in.
The winner in the audience was Joe Pasquale, but who did you, the people at home, vote for?
Well, they sent them in, I don't know. But I still got through for the viewers' vote. But I reckon it's because I was at the holiday camp and all the ideas were coming through.
You voted for Joe Pasquale!
Having won the postal vote, he returned for the final. Joe took on ventriloquist Jimmy Tamley and his sidekick Knuckles. Whatever happened to him?
New Faces 1987, yeah!
I have my Hell's Angel friend with me today. This is Knuckles.
What's that?
I just tell him you're a Hell's Angel.
That's right, brave, fearless, ride us through the valley of death and through hell and high water.
Did you come on your bike?
No, it's raining.
We're both the speciality acts, you know, comedy with props.
And in case...
After their final performances, the acts waited nervously backstage for the results.
Good evening. The old phone lines here in the south glowing red hot tonight.
This might change things for you. Here are the results from the north of England.
The votes poured in from around the country. It ended up a two-horse race between Joe and Jimmy.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the gap is narrowing.
With 12 points, Joe Pasquale.
Wow!
All the way through, I was right in the lead, right to the end.
And in first place, with 12 points, Jimmy Tamley.
Well, oh, we've got a draw, ladies and gentlemen.
Just before the final telephone vote came through, we were both level pegging. I think it was on 82 points.
Whoever got 12 votes on the next one was going to win it.
Everything hinges on this decision, ladies and gentlemen.
What a burden it is for us here in the Midlands. And the votes are as follows. In second place with 10 points, Joe Pasquale. And in first place with 12 points, Jimmy Tamley.
So the winner of New Faces 87, Jimmy Tamley!
I was thrilled that he came second, that he got that far, but I thought he should have won.
The fact that I came second, I got all this wave of sympathy going, oh, you should have won. I'd rather have you was robbed than going, sorry, you're cack, how did you win?
Despite coming second, it was Joe Pasquale who would become the biggest star.
Oh, yeah? Did he?
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah, he came second.
He's a millionaire. What happened to you?
Next time on The Talent Show Story...
Good morning, students. Welcome to your Fame Academy.
There were cameras in every room. There was no escaping.
You put two women on a show together and people want to see a cat fight.
Everybody tuned in every week just to see what was going to happen.
It was pantomime. And we were the two ugly sisters. And that's why it worked.
Stay in the YMCA.